Our story begins here, aboard the Thousand Sunny. Our Straw Hats are on their way to the next island, and this point of the manga where the Egghead Island arc officially begins. Their voyage is met with strong winds and rocky weather. Luffy suddenly notices something. It's a giant war medi. They are in full panic mode now. Though Luffy once again notices something else. Someone is trapped in it. Sanji's lady senses tingle and he knows it's a lady there. So Zoro cuts the eddy, slicing it in half, and from it, one of the war's generation falls down. Bonny, aka Glutton. And a side note, Bonny has an important part in this arc. Luffy jumps to save her and save Chopper who fell, but beneath them we see something in the water. It's a giant mechanical shark, the first signs of Egghead Island. The shark jumps, trying to take them. Everyone else from the Straw Hats is still on the ship. Jinbei jumps to save Luffy, Chopper and Bonny, while Frankie tries to save the ship and crew. Jinbei manages to save them. They can't help him though, since it's the sea and the three of them are devil fruit users. The shark attacks them, separating the crew, but at last another giant robot appears, who from the looks of it saved the ship and the Straw Hats. So now we have two groups, Luffy, Jinbei, Chopper and Bonny, then the other group with everyone else. Now Luffy's group winds up in a cave. There we get our first glimpses of Bonny. Luffy doesn't remember who she is. They get to talking. She asks about his hair. Why isn't it white like the poster? He says that only happens when he is free, referring to Gear 5 and the freedom it gives him. She says she came alone, and before she knew it, the shark attacked her. Luffy is starving though. Little does he know, as Bonny tells him, they are on a government island. They arrived on Egghead, the island said to be 500 years in the future. Vegapunk himself is here, and Bonny came here to meet him. We continue on the other side with the Straw Hats, who are saved by this giant robot, or they think they are. A gorgeous lady comes out from it. The shark actually works for her. She made him, though she didn't save them, as she says she works for the government. They call her a scientific genius. You can call me Dr. Vegapunk. With that, the Egghead Island arc officially begins. Everyone is fanboying over Vegapunk, especially Frankie. He's a big fan of him. And in the 2-year time skip, he was in his hometown, in his lab. So this mechanical and robot things are his after all. Robin says she never heard that Vegapunk is a woman. Also, this young Vegapunk says this isn't the main body. This is Punk 02, Vegapunk Lilith. So there's multiple Vegapunks. Lilith wants them to hand their valuables or be destroyed, as many robot monsters fall down beside them. Frankie is way too impressed and in awe. Lilith gets a transmission from someone who tells her to have some pride and stop looting. He is calm. They are the Straw Hat Pirates, an Emperor crew. He tells her to look at Zoro. He is calm and ready. Also Nico Robin is. I mean, he's right. If it came to it, they can easily hold their own. Especially now, they were the crew who defeated Kaido after all. Zoro tells Lilith that he has something he wants. At the same time, we see who was talking. It's Punk 01, Vegapunk Shaka. He's interested in the Straw Hats and wants to meet them. We go to Luffy's group. Bonny reveals that her dad is actually Kuma. She doesn't just tell them that. She mentions that Vegapunk was the one who turned her father into a cyborg, so she wants answers. Luffy at this point still doesn't know that it is actually Kuma. With that, they finally make it to the surface and arrive at Egghead Island. It's filled with robots and advanced technology, just like Frankie's dreams. Luffy throws himself around and he's followed by Bonny and Chopper when they see food. Though everything is hologrammed, the food isn't real. Luffy even for a second uses Gear 5. As they are talking, a new robot arrives who looks like a kid. Luffy punches her Thinking she isn't real, she punches him back, throwing into a machine with real food. So they start feasting, while the kid robot rambles on about the need for money and resources for research. The gloves she was wearing also makes her interact with light. The girl introduces herself as Vegapunk 06. Somewhere else, we get a bit more lore revealed with Cp0. They say that Dr. Vegapunk has 6 satellites, and then there is the real Dr. Vegapunk, who we are yet to meet. Their mission is to eliminate Vegapunk and his satellites, so their voyage is towards Egghead Island. Back on the island, Luffy and the others change their clothes as Officer Kuma arrives, who sees them stealing those clothes. So he attacks them, but Bonny can't move. All she sees is her father. As Luffy tries to attack him, Bonny stops him and reveals to everyone that Kuma is actually her father, bursting down in tears. He's the only family I got. I'm begging you, please don't hurt him. I actually feel bad for Bonny, seeing what became of her father. The many versions of him is been used. They drained his humanity to make him a cyborg. Bonny used her devil fruit to change their appearances. Luffy actually became 70 years old. Jinbei became younger and asked Bonny about Kuma. He explains and says the history that he knows goes like this. Kuma was a tyrannical king of Sorbet before the people got rid of him and he became a pirate. When he was caught by the navy, his ties to the revolutionary army came to light. So he was offered the opportunity to roam the seas as a warlord in exchange of becoming Vegapunk's specimen. Bonny says, why would anyone knowingly become a mindless cyborg? He wasn't a tyrant. He hated the government. He'd never submit. Kuma was a part of a very special race. Him being different doesn't justify making him a lab rat. With that, everyone turns back to the way he was. And she's right, the information they know are what the government reveals, but underneath, the real story still resides. Aboard the Thousand Sunny with our second group, they fly to the island with Lilith to the port above the clouds. The island is divided in two. Above the clouds resides the research part, and underneath the main island resides the manufacturing part. With that, they arrive to the main lab of Egghead Island. They start seeing those different technologies while following Lilith until they arrive at a door that they can just walk through. In there, someone is waiting for them who looks like Jinbei. It attacks the Straw Hats and the fight begins. Vegapunk is collecting battle data for it as we meet Punk 04 and Punk 03. It's not every day they get those juicy battle data, though the fight is stopped by Vegapunk Shaka. Frankie thinks the island is super futuristic, and I mean, it looks like that with all the technologies we've seen this far. But Vegapunk says it's quite the contrary. The island is from the past. Long ago, there was an advanced kingdom, not unlike Egghead Island from 900 years ago. 900 years ago is from the Void Century, which we don't know much about, as we see a giant metal robot in front of Luffy and the others. So this piece of info is crucial. There was this advanced kingdom long ago that they don't know about. Robin heard about this story before, which Vegapunk says that Ohara was destroyed because they knew about the existence of such kingdom. The story goes like this. In the Void Century, there was a war between one kingdom and 20 kingdoms. The winner was the 20 kingdoms who founded the world government. To make sure no one carried the ideology of that kingdom, they erased it from history, and everyone who knew about its existence was eliminated. He says if Ohara was destroyed because of that, this proves its existence. So how does Vegapunk know about it? Every book in Ohara was destroyed by the navies. Well, Vegapunk was an acquaintance and a friend of Professor Clover, who explored the world and tried to learn about the Void Century. Months after the incident, Vegapunk went there and found books in the water, which Ohara scholars tried to save. Those books were very priceless. It was a great victory for them. Their sacrifice didn't go in vain. We see glimpses of that day 22 years ago. When Vegapunk went there, there were giants who were pulling the books to take them back to Elbaf. Also, Dragon was there. He was Clover's acquaintance too. We get our first glimpses at the real Vegapunk. His tall, weird head. The giants are there to preserve the knowledge of the books. They work for Captain Sol, the one who saved Robin. Dragon here still didn't form the revolutionary army, yet he invited Vega, but he refused. We see the ambition and determination of Dragon, the way he wants justice to prevail. The same year, the army was formed. After that, Vegapunk went to Elbaf and read all of their books. Now he knows all about the secrets of the world. Because of them, Vegapunk doesn't look like a bad guy like Bonny thinks. In another part of the island, Luffy and his group are playing with the giant metal robot when Vegapunk emerged from it. He knows Bonny. Vegapunk had a massive head, so he cut it and placed an antenna. He ate the Nomi Nomi fruit, which is a knowledge fruit, so now he can remember every bit of detail and knowledge. On top of that, he was born a genius. On top of the island there's a hangar with his head and knowledge stored in there. The antenna transmits signals to that, so he can have his knowledge anywhere. He explains about his Vegapunks that they met, how they share his brain and knowledge, and once a day his brain gets updated with their experiences. He wants the whole of mankind to share his brain and knowledge, just like the Vegapunk. Bonny is furious. She uses her saber and tells him to turn her father back to normal. Vegapunk tells her to stop. That saber is a failure. It attracts insects, which it does, and Bonny faints. Luffy tells him about Momo and his devil fruit. It was a Vegapunk who created it, though he thinks it's a failure, but Luffy disagrees, so Vega asks what color is it? It's pink. Vega's heart shatters. He's a perfectionist after all. He tells them about the robot who attacked Mary 200 years ago. It was made probably more than 900 years ago in the Void Century. He still doesn't know much about it. Even now, Vegapunk can't replicate this giant robot. Bonny has suffered much because of Vegapunk, and he knows that. He tells Luffy it's fate that brought him here. He wants him to get him out of Egghead. At that exact moment, Cp0 arrive on the island and ask for permission to dock. But Vegapunk doesn't give them that permission. Lucci tries to talk him to do it, but they still refuse, so they're gonna use Esper's ability to fly towards the island. Vegapunk explains about his ambition to create a worldwide energy source that could power the whole planet, which can end all wars and conflicts. But to get close to that goal, he needs to cover the secrets of this ancient robot and its energy, which will make the government get rid of him, like they did Ohara. This is why he wants to live with Luffy. Luffy agrees since Vegapunk looks like a good guy. Also, he has a weird head, and I agree with Chopper. Is that the criteria to join the Straw Hats? In that moment, Cp0 arrive on the island. Vegapunk leaves to the top and tells Luffy to bring Bonny there. Cp0 start wreaking some havoc, and they lay their eyes on Luffy. Everyone tells Lucci to not fight him and wait for orders, since Luffy now is a Yonko, but Lucci doesn't care. Luffy gives Bonny to Jinbei, ready to fight. At the Marines HQ, they say that Kizaru heard about what's happening and is on his way to Egghead Island. They want Lucci to wait for his arrival, but he doesn't. The fight already begun, with him using his awakened state and Luffy using his Gear 5 right off the bat. Vegapunk and the other Straw Hats are watching. Vega is impressed. He knows this form. It's the warrior of liberation, the sun god Nika. His existence has been erased form history as for so much more. He explains how those devil fruits inspire people, how they diverse the future of mankind. This is why those abnormalities are hated by the sea, the mother of all nature. These devil fruit users are living in a different world, one everyone wishes for. This is why the sea hates them, because they're not normal, they're above it. The fight now gets more heated with the entrance of Sentomaru and the Seraphims. Sentomaru works for Vegapunk and he agrees to help Luffy this time. So he tells Esper to attack the government officials, though through chain of command that we see here. At the same time, Gear 5 Luffy and Lucci are going at it. Lucci takes the chance and strikes Sentomaru, badly injuring him, but he doesn't finish him, so Luffy protects him this time, and it's always fun seeing the Gear 5 in action. While the Seraphims wreak havoc, they reveal that Vegapunk can make copies of certain devil fruits, but awakening those devil fruits is a different story. These Seraphims are the peak of their technology and what Vegapunk can create. They may be the strongest beings in the history of the sea. The fight is still raging. Luffy is going at Lucci with an attack after the other, overwhelming him and mainly having fun with it. Lucci is overwhelmed, he can't beat Gear 5 Luffy. Jimpy, Chopper and Bonny make it to the pod to go to the top of the island. So Sentomaru leaves Vegapunk in Luffy's hands as he joins them. They fly off towards the top and reach the lab. Meanwhile, Cp0 block every entrance to the island and wait for the arrival of the Marines. We see Kizaru for the first time. He has also made it to the coast of the island. A battle is about to rage between the Marines and the Straw Hats. The Cp0 agents can't do anything for now, since the base is protected by a dome. Vegapunk packs his stuff and is ready to leave with his satellites, only for the protection system to go offline all of a sudden. Cp0 take notice of this and climb up. They see the Thousand Sunny and attack it. Little do they know, Zoro is on it. He stops the attack and the fight begins. The system goes back online. The only issue is they already got it into the base. Bonny and Luffy arrived where the other Straw Hats are, and Bonny is chasing Vegapunk. She wants him to fix her father. Bonny and Vegapunk are still going at it. At last, Bonny catches him and demands him to tell her the reason why he can't fix Kuma, but Vega can't reveal that. He promised not to say. Vega says that nobody made that decision for him. He chose it. Bonny can't accept this. She wants him to spit it out. Suddenly, Bonny notices something in a building and walks up to it. In that building we see a giant paw. It's Kumas Memories. Now we dive in the memories of Dr. Vegapunk. A scientist in West Blue once said, when someone dies, he loses 2 grams of mass. This could be considered the weight of the soul. Such a link would prove that the soul does in fact exist. Kuma says his power is to take something intangible like pain and give it physical form. Not only that, he can transfer it to others. So can the same logic work on other things like memories and imagination? Vegapunk asks. He wants to dive in Kuma's memories for science sake. This is a flashback that emphasizes the fact that Vegapunk and Kuma are friends. Elsewhere, Kuma escaped from the revolutionary army and went back to the Red Line. He starts climbing it and arrives at Mary's. He's fighting the Marines. Something is wrong with him. He went back to that place. Now, if Bonny touches this thing, Kuma's power will work on her. She says his memories are there, aren't they? While shedding tears. And I don't blame Bonny. And she knows that her father lived a tough life, and she's one step away from understanding it all. In the lab, Cp0 and the Seraphims start destroying the lab. At the same time, Zoro is fighting Kaku, but his fight gets interrupted by the clone of Miss Buckingham of the Rock Pirates. who put Kaku to sleep. She then goes after Lucci. She dodges one of his attacks. Lin somehow manages to grab him and bite him. At that instant, Cp0 loses. The Seraphims continue to wreak destruction. As soon as the Vegapunks arrive, it all stops. Finally, the fight is over. Sentomaru is still alive and orders all of the pacifistas to protect Vegapunk at all costs. Diving in Kumas Memories, we see in the distance a kid crying. Bonny walks up to him. Are you alright? He gets further. It's Kuma. Come here, they tell him. If you run away, all of us will be killed. He doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want to go back to that place. He's crying more and more. He doesn't want to go back, no matter what. Bonny is witnessing it all. It hurts. I'm sorry. Help me. It hurts. I'm sorry. Please help me. He's pleading for help, but no one listens to him. No one is there. No one is going to help him. Bonny is just crying, but all of a sudden, she's thrown out of Kuma's memories while the real Kuma is barely hanging to life, crawling on the ground. Bonny says, I can't accept this with half-baked resolve, but I won't be satisfied if I never know. Father, she made up her mind. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much it will hurt, she wants to share his pain, just like how Zoro shared Luffy's. She wants to know the real Kuma. Something is happening in the lab. Suddenly they lose communications and it looks like an attack. It's the Seraphims. They aren't obeying orders anymore as they attack even the Vegapunks. Luffy and Vegapunk 1 join Zoro as his spear and his hawk arrive. They attack our crew but evade it. It looks like someone is out to get rid of them. This is why the Seraphims are not following orders. So the CP0s propose an idea to join forces with the Straw Hats for now. And well, is just say, we feel you Luffy and Zoro, we feel you. They say that they will put their restraints after the fight ends, which Luffy being himself believes instantly. S-Hawks attacks them, they dodge it. Vegapunk gives the keys to Luffy and tells him that the decision is his. With that, he frees them and both of them go after Esper with a joint attack. Who would have knew we would witness this moment? Zoro and Kaku also go after S-Hawk. The fight in the lab is raging on, but the Seraphims aren't losing. If they are, they are just getting back up easily. Zoro notices something. They resemble King, the one of Kaido's crew that he fought. Vegapunk says that their toughness is attributed to him, so he reveals their weakness to only attack when the flames on their backs are gone. Though he should have noticed it sooner since the resemblance is uncanny. Meanwhile, the battle rages between the Straw Hats and those Seraphims. Shaka winds up underground where he finds something that was hidden. They are the government agents who came to the island before. It looks like they never left and someone captured them. The real Vegapunk is also there. He himself found this place a bit ago and had the same reaction. He asks Shaka, who's that you brought with you? But he didn't bring anyone with him. He is then struck in the head in front of Vegapunk's eyes, shattering every bit of hope that he had. The Straw Hats are still going at it, though Frankie and Usopp lose to a snake. Meanwhile, Robin and Vegapunk 5 are going to look for the real Vegapunk. Since S-Hawk disappeared, Zoro and Kaku go after him while Luffy and Lucci fight Esper. This was the day before the famous Egghead incident, but this story began 3 months ago in the Holy Land. They get a message from someone on Egghead. He tells them that Dr. Vegapunk is researching the Void Century. CP5 was dispatched but found nothing and disappeared. CP7 and CP8 followed but suffered the same fate. The messenger wants to talk to the higher-ups. After the conversation with that certain someone, the 5 elders decided to get rid of Vegapunk and CP0 was assigned to the task. However, anticipating retaliation from Vegapunk, one of the elders set sail with Kizaru. With various branches from the Marines, war was looming on the horizon. However, what unexpectedly appeared was the ship of the Emperor of the Sea, Luffy. The outcome of the incident the following day would give the whole world an unthinkable shock. Deep underground, Vegapunk calls for the culprit to reveal himself. Who was he betrayed by? Hey Stella. Stella refers to the real name of Vegapunk. It's Vegapunk 06, York. She's going to be a celestial dragon. She's crazy. She says it's very confusing, she knows. But the world will be better with just one Vegapunk around. What she actually did before was give the Seraphims orders to get rid of everyone except her, Stella, and the hostages. She planned for it all, and for Snake to petrify her for a bit. She is the one who gave up Vegapunk. On other parts of the new world, many stories and events unfold. Some that will change the whole world and reveal parts of history that we never knew before. Kid and his crew are near Elpaf, the island of giants. This is where they arrived after Wano. Shanks is on the island. They tell him that Kid has arrived there, so he won't let him off the hook this time. He walks out towards him and tells everyone to stand down. He goes to his ship. He's asking about Blackbeard and reads the intel he has on Kid. Though Kid is itching for a fight, he starts charging his attack, pulling all of the ships towards them. Shanks, noticing this and with his haki, sees a bit into the future, a future where Kid actually beats them, which worries him. So he jumps up towards Kid and uses Divine Departure. It's the same one that Goldie Roger used to use. And well, with this attack, Shanks finishes Kid and Killer. They lose consciousness with one attack. Shanks defeated a 3 billion berry pirate with one single attack. The same Kid who brought with Law Big Mama down. Though it doesn't end here, the giants interfere and destroy Kid's ship. In Elpaf, the Kid pirates, led by the 3 billion Paris Captain Kid, were utterly destroyed by Red Hair Shanks. On that day, Kid lost. On a certain sea in the New World, on Winner's Island, Law arrived there. He's fighting another crew. It's the Blackbeards. Blackbeard knew that after Kaido, one of the 3 crews would have ended up here, so he waited to try and get his hands on the poneglyphs from Wano. With that, a fight begins between Law and Blackbeard. Law gets the upper hand for a bit, leading an attack and hurting him, and Blackbeard gets saved by his crew, and the fight between the war's generations top captains begins. The Marines get a word about what's happening. Law and Blackbeard made contact on Winner's Island, though the fight doesn't last long. The hot pirate submarine has been torn to pieces and sunk. Law and his crew are on the ground badly injured. Teach has pested them all. Peebo tries a desperate last attack but fails. On that day, on Winner's Island, in the New World, the hot pirates, led by Trafel Law, were soundly defeated by the Blackbeard pirates. Please don't die, Captain. Now, 2 of the 3 crews who left Wano were defeated by Yonkos, which leaves now only the Straw Hats standing. In the Navy HQ, we get to see Vice Admiral T-Pone was eliminated. This is all because of the Cross Guild. They are the ones who put bounties on Marines. We get to see them and see Buggy. Buggy starts remembering the times with Shanks from their old days, how Shanks refused to claim the One Piece, but now he will. So Buggy gets emotional and tries to convince Hawk and Crocodile to claim the One Piece. which they refuse and tell him over and over he is just a puppet in their hands. So he pulls a fast one on them and yells to the whole Cross Guild, saying that what a dream drove them all to the sea. Every moment might be their last, so why give up? It's time for them to set sail, to reach and grasp all they desire most, the One Piece. With that, the last Yonko has announced his urge to claim the One Piece. Now all 4 Yonkos have set their eyes on the grand prize, and the race is only beginning. On Kamapaka Queendom, we see the revolutionary army is all gathered. Sabo has come back on a Lelouchian ship, a ship for the country that vanished. Now what happened to Lelouchia was before the arc began, so what really happened was, back in Mary's, something unbelievable happened. In the Lelouchia kingdom, the elders knew about a rebellion in that kingdom, so they figured Sabo, after fleeing, would end up there, so they ordered its complete destruction. And it all happened in the throne room. They thought that there was no king of the world, but the empty throne wasn't empty. Sabo saw it. At that moment, no one felt anything. No information was intercepted that day. As for Lelouchia, that country never existed. Just like that, the elders destroyed a kingdom with something we can't comprehend. That's what happened there. Now back to the present with Sabo. He will tell Dragon and Ivankov what really happened on Mary's. The short story is, they achieved their 3 objectives. They officially declared war by destroying the Celestial Dragon symbol. They rescued Kuma. They freed as many as they can. At the same time, the revolutionary army made rebellions in 12 nations, with 8 successful ones, although one vanished. One thing that the world took from that incident was that Sabo was the one who took out King Cobra, even though it's a lie. Lies spread like wildfires. In the Holy Land, we see the captains going at it with the admirals, and we see that Sabo located Kuma's location. At the same time, King Cobra has been granted an audience with the 5 elders. As Sabo is fighting through the castle, he meets Bonny. They know each other through Kuma. Bonny leaves saving Kuma to Sabo, while she on the other hand will head out to Egghead Island to find Vegapunk. With that, they part ways. In the throne room, an interesting story is being told, one that will change the perception of the One Piece world. King Cobra talks about the history of the world government, how it was founded 800 years ago by 20 different monarchs who came together and moved their families here to the Holy Land to live as one clan, referred to as the Celestial Dragons. They were all considered equals, and to ensure no dictator would rise up among them, they installed an empty throne. Each of them placed a weapon around it, symbolizing their vow to never sit upon it. At the same time, new royal families, handpicked to rule the nations that the founders no longer reside upon, were picked, and all mention of the previous families were removed, except for Arapasta, the monarch Lily of House Nefertari. While her name was immortalized as one of the founding 20, she didn't stay to become a celestial dragon and return to Arapasta. So this means there is only 19 swords around the throne, and there was no mention of her name after the Void Century in any of the Arapasta's books. It means she never made it back. The elders act like they don't know, but King Cobra says, in that case, what is the meaning of D? The queen has left a short letter which was passed down by generations with that mention. Suddenly, someone walks up, called Great Imu. He shows himself in front of them all and sits on the empty throne. Imu reveals that D refers to the moniker of their ancient enemy, and it was Lily's fault that the poneglyphs were scattered and the pirates now search for them. But was it a mistake or a part of a larger plan? The answer lies in the letter she has left. So Imu tells King Cobra to reveal her full name. The king knows that he won't make it out of here alive now. In that moment, Sabo walks up through the door as King Cobra says, Queen Nefertari D, Lily. Imu, hearing the letter D, attacks King Cobra with a weird sword-looking attack which gets him, though Sabo interferes. He picks him up and tries to escape. King Cobra tells him to leave him and deliver a message to Luffy and Vivi. They share the moniker D. It's the same as before when they were young. Sabo remembers. No one knows what the D stands for, but this is the king's last message. Fly the flag that herald the world's eventual dawn. Nefertari D. Lily. As Imu finally ends King Cobra's life. Wapol witnessed the whole thing by mistake. Though he doesn't want anything to do with it, he rushes back to the room with the other kings. At the same time, a celestial dragon was taken out while a fight was happening and Kuma was captured. After, Vivi and Wapol fled aboard the Aegis country's ship and Sabo to Luleja. In the Holy Land, we see the moment that it was decided Luleja would perish by the hands of a weapon made by Vegapunk. The names of the 5 elders also get revealed: Saturn, Mars, Top Man Valkyrie, Nasujura, and Jupiter. On that day we also meet the former king of God Valley, now the supreme commander of the Holy Knights, Saint Figureland Garland, a person who can pass judgment to even celestial dragons. He avenged the death of a celestial dragon that happened when the fight ensued. Garp reaches the G14 base. He wants to launch an offensive against Blackbeard to get back Koby. Koby has been taken by Blackbeard. He invites Helmeppo as they set out to the Pirate Island. Meanwhile, on the Pirate Island, the island of the Blackbeard pirates, Koby is there. He was taken by them on Amazon Lily. Now even Marines have bounties, and Koby's bounty is worth 500 million berries. He starts running away from them. As we see in a flashback, Blackbeard has an idea to make this pirate island a kingdom, but the Marines, as Koby says, won't let him, so he will use him as a bargaining chip. Though if we look, we can see Aokiji there with him. Koby says he is part of Sword. Now, Sword is a new term which refers to the Marines who are not officially Marines but do their own thing. That's why they don't care to fight a Yonko or anyone since they don't follow protocol. Now Koby is a part of them. Who freed Koby was Pirona from Morai's crew. As Koby is running, the island gets attacked by the Marines and bunch of them at that. We have Real Admiral Kujako, Navy Commander Hipari, Rear Admiral Prince Grass. They all are part of Sword. But the chair on top, as we see a ship flying in the air, it's Vice Admiral Garp, who came to save his precious Koby. And for the first time in One Piece, we get to witness why Garp can go toe to toe with Goldie Roger. He rages and with one attack, the Galaxy Fist, he completely destroys everything beneath him. The destructive power of his attack is immense and well worthy of Garp. Garp tells every pirate one wrong move and they will regret it. Koby and Hipari start running toward Garp, but something happens to her. All of a sudden, she gets frozen. Kuzan has arrived. He says it will be a bad luck if Koby escaped while Teach is away. 2 years ago, as we all know, Akainu and Aokiji fought for the fleet admiral position and Aokiji lost. In that time, Kuzan met Teach and froze all of his crew. Things got a bit heated, but suddenly it dials down. Kuzan and the rest of the Blackbeard crew start drinking together and talking. He's telling them about the story of his defeat, which they find amusing. He also lost a leg in that fight. The Blackbeard pirates ask Kuzan about the man marked by flames. As we all know, there's 4 red poneglyphs, one with Big Mama, one with Kaido, and the other 2, they don't know their whereabouts, except the story about the man marked by flames. They say the man could be found on a pitch black ship, but if any ship gets near him, it will suddenly sink because whirlpools. They think he works for the government, which Kuzan doesn't know. Blackbeard even talks about stealing Kuzan's devil fruit for a second, which at that point almost starts a fight. So Teach offers him to join his crew. Since Aokiji doesn't have a job, at first he refuses, but then remembers that he is free, and with that, we meet Kuzan, 10th captain of the Blackbeard Pirates. I need to say something here and interrupt the story. I don't care how much he hates that he lost to Akainu. I always saw him as being righteous, saving Robin, letting Luffy go. I always thought of him as one of the good guys. But now I don't think I can say this much anymore. I don't care for his reason. He knows Blackbeard and he willingly joined him. Kuzan, freezing doesn't work on Garp. He tells him, listen, Kuzan, only weaklings lose their way, as he punches him with a blue hole attack, throwing him to the ground. Garp and the Marines are going at it on the island. The fight is fierce. Their ship has everyone on board and is ready to set sail. All that is left is Garp, Koby, Grass, and Helmeppo. Aokiji is not going to let them out that easy. Garp tells them to head to the coast. He will give them cover, but at that moment Koby makes a fatal mistake and is about to lose his life, only for Garp to take the hit on his behalf. He has been badly injured. That doesn't stop him. Garp just keeps on fighting. He doesn't give up no matter what. Aokiji goes for him as we see flashbacks of their past, how at one point he was actually training under Garp and they were good friends, but now the story is different. Yesterday's friend is today's enemy, as they say. Garp is down, and now the 4th captain of the Blackbeard, Kizaru, who takes the ship of the island, is about to sink the ship full of Marines and innocent people. But Garp still doesn't give up. Don't lose your head. Justice will prevail. Garp lays down the plan. Koby is gonna go and smash the hand while the rest are gonna cover him. Koby has doubts, but Garp tells him to never doubt himself in the heat of the moment, and thus the plan begins. The 3 Marines go for the hand while Garp stands back up to Aokiji. He launches himself at them all and heads towards the head, destroying it. With that, Koby jumps up to the hand while Garp just smiles. Koby has been training a lot and improving. He's ambitious and his dedication is something to admire. He never stopped training. Garp admires him. He's the perfect image of a Marine he has always envisioned. With that, Koby uses his haki and with a punch destroys the hand and saves the ship. They grab Koby and the others, and the plan to save Koby, the hero, is a success, though Garp himself is still trapped on the island. He tells them, never forget, you are all future of the Marines. With that, they leave him. In the following day's paper, the legendary hero, Vice Admiral Garp, would be declared missing in action on the pirate island after successfully saving the young captain hero, Koby. However, another story would also gain the world's attention, the Egghead incident, where the Emperor Straw Hat Luffy would face a siege on the island. Egghead Island is surrounded by a massive force, having power to put a Buster Call to shame. The force has 100 ships of different types, among them 20 warships and 30,000 marines. Among the crew are 9 vice admirals, and leading them is Admiral Kizaru. Inside a certain ship, Saturn, one of the 5 elders, is there. No one knows of his presence except a select few. Saturn and the others have a general idea of what's happening on the island, though suddenly they get a transmission from it. It's York. She's talking to all of the 5 elders and Kizaru. She asks them what's the big fleet around the island for. They ask her if she can replicate the Mother Flame. She says she can. All she needs is the power station and the lab. The 5 elders agree to not harm her or the things she needs, but before hanging up, she says there's one more thing she needs. Save me. York is crying the Straw Hats have gotten her. They arranged this call and heard everything. The conspiracy has been revealed, and now all of the crew is back together. Luffy shouts to the 5 elders, declaring his name, saying, "I'm Monkey D. Luffy. I'm the man who will become king of the pirates." They have allied with Vegapunk. Everyone hears this, even in the World Economic Journal with Vivi and the others. The elders want 3 things: York's safety, Punk's records, and finally the power plant. Everything else can be erased. Even Saturn says that humans are no different than insects. Even if their numbers reduce, they will multiply. Now a lot of talking happens before the siege. To summarize it, Snake fell in love with Luffy like Hancock. They freed the CP agents. Luffy, Bonny, Frankie and Vegapunk too. Lilith go for the 1000 Sunny, and we see that Bonny is beginning to get a crush on Sanji since he can cook and fight. Kizaru is going for tomorrow, even though he is his friend, but he has to, as the siege now officially begins. He goes to the island directly at tomorrow. As they clash, the light could be seen by Luffy and the others. He knows someone strong has come for them. They're going at it. tomorrow isn't backing down, while Kizaru is going with an attack after the other. He owes his life to Vegapunk. When he found him, he gave him food and a job. Even Kizaru was friends with him back then. But now, the story is different. Kizaru manages to beat him and calls off all of the pacifistas on the island to stop attacking. He then jumps up above and goes in the dome, while inside, Lucci takes his chance and goes for Dr. Vegapunk, only to be saved. She blocked Lucci's attack with her body, badly injuring herself, while Zoro goes for Lucci. Kizaru, on the other hand, spots the Straw Hat's ship. As soon as he does, Luffy goes for him straight on. He first uses his gear 4, though it's not enough. Kizaru just sends him way back and sends an attack straight at the ship, cutting the robot carrying it in half. Deep inside, he doesn't want to do this. He knew Vegapunk for a long time. Now Bonny goes at him. He says that he doesn't want to hurt her either, but he's forced to. After inside the lab, Kizaru just appears in front of Vegapunk and the others, but before he can do anything, Gear 5 Luffy appears and grabs him. At the same time, the ancient robot turns on. Now the fight begins between Gear 5 Luffy and Kizaru, with Luffy just spinning him over and over before throwing him through the buildings. Kizaru throws lights, multiplying himself and overwhelming Luffy. He pretends to run away, only to kick all those holograms with one sweep attack. He fails, grabbing Usopp. Then he spots Vegapunk attacking him. Luffy jumps in front of the attack and saves him at the last second. Meanwhile, Bonny's going at it with the Marines at the island. Tomorrow is still alive also. Zoro is fighting Lucci, who says it will be worthwhile to take out the number 2 of an emperor. Now we have 3 fronts of fighting: Luffy versus Kizaru, Bonny and tomorrow versus the Marines, Zoro versus Lucci. Vegapunk makes it down to the bottom level and orders all of the pacifistas to go for all of the Marines on the island. Honestly, if I was one of the Marines, I would have stayed on the ship. The pacifistas go at the Marines, destroying everything in their way. Sanji and Frankie are with Vegapunk, and though Sanji's laid his radar, he spots Bonny, while Bonny's going at it with the Marines, fighting left to right. The Vice Admirals arrive. One of them, Vice Admiral Bluegrass, directs one of the pacifistas at Bonny. She freezes, seeing the face of her father as the attack goes at her. Sanji thankfully makes it in time to save her. Suddenly, an order is given. All pacifistas cease all action immediately. The Marines get an announcement. Saturn of the 5 Elders is about to land on the island. Any Marine below the rank of Commodore should avert his eyes, as we see the circle of the 5 Elders going straight for the island. Anyone who dares to look just loses his life, as Saturn makes landing Finally, one of the elders actually revealed his power and true form to us. Now the tables of fighting has turned. But before he could do anything, Luffy goes for Kizaru with all of his might, blocking one of his attacks, and then goes at him with a white star attack right through his head in front of Saturn's eyes. Luffy falls, but not before sending Kizaru flying, suffering a fatal defeat. He has beaten an admiral. Saturn is right on top of the others. He at last reaches Vegapunk. Bonny takes the opportunity while remembering everything she has suffered and everything they have put her father in, and with that fury, she manages to actually pierce Saturn. Though Saturn just grabs Bonny, he didn't dodge it on purpose. His wound starts to heal on its own. When Sanji goes to try and save her, Saturn just hits him, knocking him back. He tries to get Luffy too, though Frankie saves him. Now it's all over. Why, when humans are told not to do something, they do it anyway? Bonny blames Saturn for what happened to her father. Saturn replies with, Kuma was remnant of a tribe of people who committed a grave crime. The lone survivor of the exterminated Buccaneers people. As Bonny starts hearing a voice in her head and remembering her father's words. Bonny, ever since I was a child, I always wanted to be a hero. One who brought freedom to those who are suffering. Just like the warrior of liberation, Nika, I admired him. He would dance into action with a smile on his face. Bonny asked, will he set me free too? Of course he will. "47 years ago, in the South Blue Sorbet Kingdom, Kuma was born. The government got notice of this and captured the whole family. They became puppets of the government. Their Kuma as a kid was oblivious to the mistreatment he's facing, while his father tries his best to stay together. Even when Kuma's mother dies, he tells Kuma, which breaks his heart. His dad calms him down with stories about the warrior of liberation, the god of sunshine. He's the warrior of legend. One day he will bring you to the free ocean under the sun. He's always laughing and moves in rhythm. With these stories, Kuma got the power and will to live on his childhood. His father loved him so much, and Kuma was born into a world that is not fair, a world which mistreated him, and this shaped who Kuma will become. 9 years after that, every 3 years, the Celestial Dragons pick an island for a tournament of eradicating the population. This year, God Vally was chosen and made into property of the world government. Kuma at that year tried to escape when he was found and almost brought back. Ivankov and Jenny came to his rescue and actually saved him. The tournament on God Valley begins. How it works, each resident is given a rabbit status, with special rabbits worth 10,000 points while normal ones are worth 1. With this, the tournament begins. Garb gets called to go to God's Valley that day, since that island is considered a treasure for pirates. Roger and the Rock Pirates are going there. The game is brutal, and the worst thing about it is it will be hidden from history, as 100,000 rabbits are on this island, meeting their end. Ivankov rallies the others to escape with her. They will do this with the prizes of this tournament. One prize is the Azure Dragon Fruit, which Kaido gets at some point. The other is the Pow Pow Fruit. The war starts with the arrival of the Rock Pirates crew. Those legendary pirates who became the most notorious throughout the world start their advance. Then the Roger Pirates arrive. After that, Vice Admiral Garb comes looking for Roger. Every party involved in the God Valley incident arrived and landed on the island. Using the chaos, Kuma and Ivankov steal the devil fruits. Ivankov gets caught before eating one, but Kuma manages to eat the pawpaw fruit. But then and there, Saturn appears and strikes him. Kuma tells him, "Are you a great person, old man?" Being red from birth seems strange to me. If I have obtained any power right now, even if it's just me alone, I want to save as many pitiful people as I can. Just like Nika, Kuma always wanted to be a hero to save others so that they don't suffer the same fate and life as him. But this incident will vanish into the darkness of history to never be mentioned again. Serpent Kingdom. Kuma managed to escape with others, saving more than 500 people. With his hand of liberation, all of them were saved. Ivankov leaves them. Now Kuma and Jenny are left. We see a bit of their life now, how Kuma is helping others and how they're just living happily for the first time in their lives. How everything is fine now. 8 years after that, we see Kuma and Jenny all grown up. Kuma is still helping people. The kingdom has changed rulers to a much cold-blooded king called Picori, who in exchange for helping the sick demands them to pay, while Kuma doesn't charge anything. After every week, while the pain and hurt of people is stored up, Kuma consumes it. He does this every week so the pain won't go back to the original people. Consuming the pain of others so they won't suffer, but he will on their behalf. Just shows how pure-hearted he is. I'm just feeling bad for him, even though I'm gonna be honest, at first when I watched One Piece, when he teleported everyone to a different place, I kinda didn't like him. They say for every character and every person there's a story we don't know, and this is his. 5 years after that, 22-year-old Kuma he's living happily with Jenny. She even wants to marry him, but he doesn't want her to suffer because of him. He wants her to be happy. This is the first time he hears of Dragon. 3 years after an incident happens, the king has taken people for his own benefit on the island. Kuma tries to stop them but fails. He's imprisoned with Jenny and others. Later, the king was overthrown by a group we now know as the Revolutionary Army. We know their story. With this incident, Kuma officially joined them and became a part of them. Later, the Revolutionary Army made many uprisings. One day changed everything and changed Kuma forever. One where Jenny was captured by a celestial dragon who wanted to make her his bride. On that day, everything changed. 2 years passed since then. They get a call. It's Jenny. She managed to escape somehow and make it back to the surface, but this call will be her last. She apologizes for everything, but this is goodbye. Kuma has a big heart. Please take care of him, Dragon. And Kuma, I want you to know I love you. Always have and always will. He teleports instantly to her. He's already late. Jenny is gone. She had a disease, and with sunlight it made it worse. With that, he lost her. He starts remembering his time with her while bursting down in tears. He lost the one thing that is close to his heart, the one person he spent all of his life with and loved from the bottom of his heart. But she left behind a child that will give Kuma hope. He vows to raise her well. We see glimpses of his life with her, how he sees Jenny in her, which always makes him cry. He loves her so much. But one day, Bonny develops a disease, so Kuma decides to quit the Revolutionary Army to stay with her. Bonny at a young age was bullied because of the blue skin on her face. He always comforted her by saying they are jewels. He always tried to be there for her and tried to make her feel better. He loves her and is willing to do anything for her. The doctor tells him that Bonny would be lucky if she makes it to 10 years old. There's nothing he can do. After the doctor leaves, Kuma's just all alone, talking to himself, wondering, saying 10 years. She has till 10 years old. Bonny heard him talking. It shatters him to lie to her that the disease will only continue till she's 10. She thinks she will get better after that, but the truth is much harsher. She wants to travel the world with him when she gets better, and I feel bad for Kuma. He doesn't know what to do, how to react and act. 1 year after that, the previous king came back to the country and waged havoc. Kuma tried to save everyone he can, tried to be there for everyone. At the end he managed to beat the king and his army, and on that day a one-man revolution happened. Kuma was declared as king after that. Bonny looks like all grown up, but actually she isn't. She ate a devil fruit. She can turn to any age she wants, but still not to old age. Her condition grew much worse. So the Bonny that we've seen in the beginning of the story is actually 9 to 10 years old. On newspapers they painted Kuma to be an evil tyrant, which is far from reality. The 5 elders did that because in their eyes it's an uprising and they don't like him. This is why what Jimpy said at the beginning of the story makes sense now, why everyone thinks so. So he decides to leave the island for Bonny's sake, to try and find a cure for her. He leaves Bonny with the previous king as he sets out on his voyage. On his way out, he meets the previous king who came back with the marines, so he just sinks their ships. After, he would be branded a pirate and search for a cure for his daughter and 7 people. One day, he was talking to Dragon, who mentions Vegapunk, that he can cure Bonny and he should take her to him. And one day, he comes back for her and takes her to Dr. Vegapunk. Vegapunk says that he can actually cure her, but it will be costly. So he tells him if he donates his blood to make clones, he won't charge him. Kuma agrees since Vega is open about it, and well, if clones of him can someday save people, he doesn't mind. If it meant to cure Bonny, he would have made even a deal with the devil. Vegapunk tells him, "You're just like a saint," which he replies with, "I'm a pacifist who loves keeping the peace." So Vegapunk says, why not call the clones pacifistas? This is where they got their name from, the pure heart and goodwill of Kuma. Saturn and the 5 elders, on the other hand, have different ideas for him in mind. Kizaru goes to them with orders from Saturn. They tell him his 3 conditions. 1, for him to become a warlord. 2nd is for him to become a Hyupen weapon for the navy. And the 3rd is for him to give up his free will and sense of individuality, which Vegapunk objects to. He doesn't want that. Vega isn't a bad person. He doesn't want that for him, and he sure shows it here. But those are the conditions to save Bonny. Saturn says Kuma's met with this tough choice to save his daughter and lose his free will, and frankly lose himself, or let Bonny suffer the same fate as her mother. If he chooses to save Bonny, which he will not be there for her since he will lose his free will. Crying, he accepts as long as Bonny is cured. Even Vegapunk cries. He knows the injustice that Kuma is facing. He knows how hard his choice is for him and how hard life is for him to lose himself for the one he loves. Bonny's treatment will take a year and a half, while Kuma's modifications will take 2 years. Saturn says as a guarantee, after Bonny is cured, they will take her until he finishes his part of the deal. But he objects and tells them he won't try to see her. His only request is not to tell her the truth of what will happen to him. And Saturn agrees. After that, Kuma spends his remaining time with her, Kizaru, Vegapunk, and Sentomaru on the island. The results are good for now. 1 year from now, she will be cured. With that, they take Bonny to Sorbet, and Kuma says his goodbye one last time and tells her, "Thank you, Bonny. I'm glad you were born." Now he sets out to sea and becomes a warlord, writing her messages with hope in them. Only she doesn't know he won't be himself again soon, and in time he will lose himself. 3 years ago on his travels, he even meets Luffy when he goes to the island he was born in. He tells Dragon the story of that day, but Dragon at that time reveals to him that Luffy is actually his son, and Dragon says that Luffy is a soft spot for him. So this means that he actually cares and he will come to his rescue if something happens. Kuma stayed on his travels and always wrote letters to Bonny, always beginning them with Dear Bonny and ending them with I love you, always writing, but Bonny at some point stopped getting the letters because of the CP agent assigned to her always tore them apart. But he never stopped writing, never stopped telling her that he loves her, that he always will love her. Bonny always checked to see if he wrote for her, always waited for him. Now she's 9 years old, half a year passed with no letters reaching Bonny. It breaks her heart. The only thing that she wanted was to hear from him, and he writes her, he always does, but it never reaches her, never reaches her heart. Bonny at that time figures out she was already cured a long time ago. When the people of the island hear the CP agent talking about it, so she defeats the CP agent and leaves the island to become the pirate we know now. The Bonny Pirates were formed. Now we see the life that Kuma had. We see everything that happened in One Piece in his perspective and the things that he saw. But one incident that changed everything about Kuma is when he saw Luffy punching a celestial dragon. At that moment, he knew that Luffy is special. He apologizes for Dragon since this is the last time he won't see him. He can leave his own quiet mark on the world through Bonny and this young boy. Their future will be the only legacy he has left. He apologizes for Luffy. You've got it wrong. You're just not ready. You will someday save the world. Even when Luffy hated him and didn't know it, Kuma saved him. Now the day comes, the day that Kuma will lose himself. He tells Vegapunk that he wants to protect Luffy's ship. He wants him to program that in him. He also tells him that Nika is meant to be a legend. It will be great if there was a warrior out there putting smiles on faces using the rhythm of liberation, the rhythm he taught Bonny. And there's a hero out there that will change, at least sees one day. I believe it will be him. He takes out his memories and places them and says, so this is my life. I wonder how many people have been harmed or troubled by my actions. As we see his memories and the life that Kuma had, he never gave up. He never stopped. He always believed in others and helped others. Kuma always was a beacon of light to the ones around him. Always gave it his all, always ran, never gave up. He never gave up. He has never hurt anyone. His life never caused anyone harm or trouble, but his death will pain everyone who loves him. Vegapunk tells him, listen, well Kuma, you are a hero, not only for Bonny, but for everyone you ever met. He thanks him. There's just one last thing, Vegapunk. I can't say how grateful I am. Thank you for saving Bonny. If you see her again, could you tell her something for me? Please wish her a happy 10th birthday. And with that, Kuma, the one who gave his life for the ones he loved, this is the story of Kuma. And this is where the story ends for now. I try to include everything I can to make the story coherent without leaving important things, but a lot of dialogue I couldn't include in this video. I reached chapter 1102. This is where we are right now from this moment that I'm recording this, and yeah, what a roller coaster of emotions. This was a tough video to make. I just hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.